All right, welcome back to MLB Now. And there we go, Ben Clemens of FanGraphs. They do crowdsourcing over there where the readers do a voting on how many years, what the total value will be. And Ben usually has his estimation done earlier than that. So on FanGraphs right now, Ben's top 50 free agents, starting obviously there with Aaron Judge. And that's where we will start. Ben Clemens joins us now. Ben, it's Brian Kenny. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Brian.
Let's start there. Aaron Judge, again, if you believe the neighborhood of the offer that the Yankees reportedly are making, it's somewhere 8 years, 37.5 AAV. Where do you come in on Aaron Judge in what you believe he'll get from the market?
Yeah, I think somewhere between $35 and $38 million a year just makes a lot of sense. That's going to set a position player average annual value record. Aaron Judge had set that record. He had the best non-Barry Bonds season of the 21st century. That's really cool. And it's not hard to project him continuing to do that. Combine that with the fact that I think the Yankees really do have to retain Aaron Judge. I think it'd be just very un-Yankees for them not to. And it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me that they would lose him over $2.5 million a year of average annual value or something. I had him at 9 years and $35 million a year, which is very similar, honestly, to 37.5. I mean, that's just kind of, does he want 8 or 9 years? The money works out almost exactly the same. And do I think he'd get the ninth year for $15 million? Probably. So I think that makes a lot of sense. And yeah.
In most of it's funny with the crowdsourcing, it seems, and again, you just told me you do your estimations first, crowdsourcing comes in, but it seems like you're always just a little higher than what the crowds think, right? It almost seems like you're willing to sweeten the deal to get the player, which is how the market could actually work, right? If you have Giants versus Yankees.
Yeah, so I think the crowd is really good at kind of understanding the way that, like some kind of generic dollars per WAR metric and saying, oh, this guy's so good. I use a lot of prior contracts as my baseline for these, and it applies some inflation on my own. And hey, like you said, prior contracts are usually sweetened to get the deal done. Right. And if you're using that in your criteria, you'll probably end up a little bit higher than a crowd a lot of the time. So
Aaron Judge is going into his age 31 season. Again, that's going to be problematic for doing a 9 or a 10-year deal. Jacob deGrom, age 35 season. We just did a whole workup on deGrom. Fantastic, getting better, a bit unreliable. Where are you on deGrom?
Yeah, I think deGrom is just the kind of super Max Scherzer of this year. So if you look at Scherzer's deal last year, yeah, he set an average annual value record, but not for long. You don't want to have Max Scherzer on the books for 8 years at this point. He's old. In baseball terms, I think he's like my age. Right. But deGrom is different than Scherzer in that he's younger, but the reason that you'd want to not have him on the books forever is because, come on, like no one's been like this before. He's an alien, and you don't know when it'll stop working for him. How long can you throw 101 miles an hour without, having some structural issues? And he's already starting to have them. So I think he's going to set an even higher record than Scherzer. I think it's going to be similarly short for the same reasons. Like if you could have one pitcher on the mound to defend Earth from aliens in a game of baseball, it's deGrom. It's not close, I don't think. But if you could have one pitcher 4 years from now, I really don't think it's deGrom. And so I think teams are going to try to give him that exact kind of contract. The Mets seem to like those contracts. They gave it to Scherzer, and it wouldn't shock me if they did the same thing again.
But you're thinking 3 at 47 per. 47.
Yeah. Maybe I'm a little high on that, but I think shattering the current record for average annual value per player makes a lot of sense for deGrom. He's the kind of guy who you should do that for.
All right, Ben, let's get to the shortstop class now, because, again, that's an elite class. Again, they're on the correct side of the defensive spectrum. Some are a little younger, including Carlos Correa. So here's the class here. You're actually, I think, going the highest on Trea Turner, right? 9 at $32 million per, 288, although Correa comes in 10 for 300. So is Trea Turner the highest AAV, but just barely? Give me your overall thoughts.
Yeah, if I were a team trying to get a marquee shortstop to plug into the middle of my lineup for the next, 7-8 years of good production, look, I'd prefer Turner very marginally, but I'd be really happy if I got Turner or Correa. They're both great. You're not going to be like, buyer's remorse in year 2 of either of those deals. I think there's essentially no chance. I ranked Turner slightly ahead, but they're in a tier together. If you told me tomorrow, hey, I think you're wrong, and I think you should have Correa first, and fine. That one was really close. I think that both of them are clearly better than the next two of Bogaerts and Swanson. And I just like the combination of solid defense, Turner's defensive metrics, but also how he looked playing defense ticked up on the Dodgers. He took a few steps back, and that helped a lot. The Dodgers are really good at figuring out how to kind of get the most out of their players in obvious and not even non-obvious ways. And they did it with Turner. Just he looks like a better defender there.
Right, and it's funny, yeah, Dansby Swanson too at 6 at 24. So kind of in keeping with, yeah, you're getting an excellent player, but it is like the overall is like half of what Correa could make. So that might be a better price point for a lot of teams. I want to get to one guy though before we run out of time. Yeah. There's only like one or two guys that I thought, ooh, that seems a little light, and that was for me Justin Turner. You had him 1 year at $14 million. You don't think he'll do better than that? See, I'm a bit more bullish on Turner.
Yeah, I think it really just depends what he wants to do. And this is one where I kind of threw out comps, and I just think he's going to stay with the Dodgers. He likes the Dodgers. He's a Southern California guy. The last deal he signed with them worked out pretty well for both sides. It wouldn't shock me if he said, I'm getting out of town, and I would just prefer to like make the most money if he made more than that. But I kind of think of him the way that I do of Kershaw, and Kershaw signed at a deal where I feel like he probably could have gotten more if he went to the open market and just pressed everybody for every last dollar they had. I think Turner's going to be the Dodgers, and I think he'll retire on the Dodgers. And yeah, maybe they'll sign a 2-year deal with him, but this just feels like a kind of, late career Tim Wakefield thing maybe, where they just go to year to year with him and he never leaves.
Yeah, I thought his production warrants more even now, because again, the third base market is also, quite thin. Ben, we got to run, but great stuff, and people can read the whole thing. You got all 50 up there on FanGraphs right now. Thank you so much, Ben.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Ben Clemens of FanGraphs.